So here we go with the two-part series talking about planning a destination wedding. In this particular portion, we're going to talk about the 10 questions that you guys submitted. Thank you for asking your questions on Instagram. I put together a list and we're going to get into it real soon. But we got a guest appearance today. So I'm going to introduce him. Y'all know him. Y'all love him. I love him. And it's my husband, Solomon. Woo woo!
What it do, man? Let's get into it.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. All right, so the first topic is choosing a location, whether you're going to pick a resort, whether you're going to pick a destination and have your guests go there and not go through like a hotel or a resort chain. So, what are your thoughts?
I think picking a resort was probably our best bet for real because it came out to be a lot more cost effective than having a wedding in the States. So destination weddings are definitely the way to go if you want to save money and also get a vacation at the same time. So really you're killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah, and I think for me, the resort option sold us because most of the resorts nowadays, especially the Caribbean resorts, they came with a planner, a wedding planner included in the cost.
Right.
So that was a huge upsell for me. And I'll talk about the package options a little bit later.
Cool.
Okay, number 2, we're going to talk about visiting the property/location before the date of your wedding. Pros and cons.
Pros. Everything is a pro about getting to the resort, early on, just so you can get a lay of the land.
Yeah.
What helped us tremendously was having a great coordinator. She was able to get us in there and show us how the wedding would go, like step by step, from where the ceremony would be to the reception to even having us sample foods that we would be giving to our guests. So definitely going to the resort beforehand and having a great coordinator is advantageous.
Yeah, and we signed our contract in November of 2017 with this property. In May, for a weekend, we actually went there. They were able to give us a reduced rate, significantly reduced, just to go out there to get a feel for everything. The food, like he said, the different locations on the property where we could have our ceremony. So it was nice to kind of see that in person. And if it's within your budget, I would highly recommend it.
And you get a little mini vacation out the deal too,
Yeah,
for real. You was out there chilling.
Yeah, very nice. All right, point 3. So, getting a travel coordinator. We were fortunate enough to be able to not only have the wedding planner at the resort, but also have a travel coordinator who helped all of our guests. We were very hands off. Get their flights, book the package with the resort. She was fantastic. I would highly recommend. We got her through Fun Jet Vacations, but
her name was Ricky. Shout out my girl.
Some like weird stuff was going on with the audio, but we were basically talking about the fact that Ricky Harder does not work with Fun Jet Vacations anymore, and she was fantastic. She coordinated a wedding with over 100 people. And she did a great job. And then that transitioned us into talking about that I wasn't the hugest fan of having a large wedding with 100 plus people as the guest count. And Solomon was giving his input, so let's see what he say. A travel coordinator.
You wouldn't recommend over 100 people?
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but we didn't really do too much though. Basically, we send the invitations. If you coming, you coming. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay, but we're happy and married now. Okay, the topic that nobody wants to talk about is the price. So I'm actually going to talk about this more in part 2 when I go through a detailed breakdown of our wedding and the expenses, all of that jazz. But just to give you a quick idea of what's going to be discussed. So the base price of the package that we got was roughly $5,000. That included a bunch of stuff for up to 25 people. We went from $5,000 to roughly
18. Dang.
18,000 by the time we had add-ons, lighting, chairs, DJ, like all of those things added up. So just to give you an idea of what's going to be discussed in the price portion, but that's still cheaper than what you would probably experience if you had a wedding in the States.
Absolutely.
So just keep that in mind.
Hard as glass, man.
Okay.
Family buy-in. Getting your family and everybody on the same page as far as traveling, getting to the resort. For me in particular, my family, a lot of my family that came, it was their first time on a plane, let alone leaving the country. So I had to do a little bit of convincing. Some of my family, unfortunately, wasn't able to make it. But, it's still all love. You know how
Same
that goes.
here.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they definitely wished us well before we left and everything like that. But that's something you want to keep in mind, having family that hasn't traveled before. And it was particularly more like my older family members, like my grandmother, a couple of my aunts, and a lot of my younger cousins. It was their first time being on a plane and their first time traveling. So I'm glad they were able to experience, it being in Jamaica for their first time, leaving the country. So yeah. So I think it's definitely worth their while to just explore a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, having a destination wedding is also a way to weed people out. People that aren't gonna let's just be real. Weddings can bring out a lot of different sides of people.
Facts.
And the goal should always be that the bride and groom are getting what they want. Everybody else is second to them. Yeah, the bride, for real. Everybody else is second to them. So if your idea of your wedding has always been to be at this exotic location, then I believe that that's what you should get. And if
whoever
it cuts,
don't show up.
If it cuts some people out, it's not their day, it's your day. So put yourself first, and everything will kind of flow out of that. And some people do have deal breaker people that they would want to be there, and if they can't be there, they don't want to do a destination wedding. If that's you, that's cool too. It's whatever you guys want. For us, it was very much this is what we want, and we hope that everybody gets on board. And if you don't, we'll see you back in the States after we're married.
I better have a gift too, man.
So point 6 was supposed to be about vetting people out. We kind of talked about that in 5. I talked about that in 5. So 5 and 6 are now 1.
She be rapping.
Just like the union of a marriage, we are now 1.
Indeed.
Okay. All right. So the timing of this whole process. Typically, from start to finish, at the very least, you want to give yourself a year, because that allows your guests an opportunity to plan their finances out and their lives out. We are busy people. So
especially when it comes to a destination wedding, because a lot of people have kids, they need to find babysitters, need to take off work, do all these other things in order to travel. So definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I'll go through a timeline of kind of exactly what we did and show you the breakdown of what we were doing on different dates. When we sent the save the dates out, when we expected the responses back, when we sent the invitations out, because it's very plug and play. Once you figure out the formula, you follow the formula and everything flows from there.
Good thing she's organized, because I ain't handled none of that shit, and I'm sorry. I can't say shit.
You've already said it.
We gonna keep that in there, though. We gonna keep that in there. Fuck them.
Okay, when it comes to your wedding, you want to make sure you have a good photographer, videographer, and ladies makeup artist, bare minimum. Those are the things that you want to make sure are taken care of. DJ too, but that's another story. So with at least those 3 things, when we went to visit the resort, we actually had the same photographer. He took pictures of us when we visited in May, and we liked the pictures and loved the way they came out. So he actually was our assigned photographer for the wedding. Videographer, we weren't as pressed about that, but if you are, you either get a videographer there and wherever the destination is that you're going, or you bring your own with you. Makeup artist, I highly recommend for any of these things, makeup artist, videographer, photographer, go on Instagram. If you search I searched makeup artist Jamaica. They will pop up. You can go on their pages, look at their work. That's how I found my makeup artist. Brushed by Nicole. Okay? Bomb. She did my makeup, all of my girls' makeup. Like, she was fantastic. So I highly recommend doing some internet sleuthing to figure out whether you want to use the add-on services that the hotel or resort has, or if you want to bring somebody onto the property, which will typically be an additional fee if you bring them on, just to have a guest on the property. So keep that in mind too. Okay, a big thing that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about is where you get your actual marriage license.
Right.
So we opted to only have the ceremonial marriage in Jamaica and actually get our license in our home state in the United States. So that is completely up to you. There are people who will want to get their license at their destination, like Jamaica. Mexico is another popular place, but they kind of got some wild requirements. That's why it turned me off. Like, there were requirements for getting there a certain amount of time before. Yeah. One of them required like a blood test. Another one requires an HIV test. Did you know that?
That's wild.
Mexico, they require a HIV test and you to do a Planned Parenthood sit through a Planned Parenthood presentation. Yes, it's really wild. Yeah, crazy. I looked it up for this. But I knew that the chaos of planning a wedding was enough in itself that I did not want to think about having to run to Jamaican or Mexican like
blood test
downtown center to figure out, like, that was just way too much. And you can get married at any point. A lot of people like get married whenever they want to, and then they have the ceremony after the fact. So whatever you choose to do is what you choose to do.
Yeah, our ceremony was in December, and we got our license February. Valentine's Day.
Yeah, December 14th, our wedding. Valentine's Day, our actual license. Yeah. So yeah, it's literally whatever you want to do. I suggest opt for less stress. Whatever's going to be less stressful for you. 10 and most important, in my opinion. Do not let the stress of the wedding take all of the fun out of this process. This is the only time, hopefully, that you will have to go through the planning of a wedding process. And it should be fun, especially if you get to like do it in a beautiful, exotic location, different from like your home state. Make it as stress-free as possible. Block out the noise and do what you guys want to do and focus on that. And that's it for part 1. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, all the things. Do all the things.
All that good
comment, stuff, do all the things. And if I missed something, absolutely comment so that I can reach out to you. I love talking to y'all in the comments. So reach out, let me know, and get ready for part 2.
Gang in this.
Boo, 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 boo.
She said I can't cuss.
Oh, yeah. Civilized.
Gang in this.
Bye. Talk to y'all soon.